Standards of social behavior change with time in any specific culture. Sometimes these standards change as a result of the influence of other cultures. A good example is dress. Pre-colonial African girls used to expose a lot of flesh. These days, most people, including and maybe especially Africans, find that amount of public nakedness unacceptable. Modern modesty standards extend to language, which is not allowed to be as ribald as it once was. Christian education was largely responsible for setting new standards which distinguished converts and educated Africans from the uneducated tribal riffraff who clung to tradition. I am using uppity language which once reflected the attitudes of the educated elites. I don't know how heritage fits into this scenario. What I do know is that families that raise kids to be the best they could be are families that instill discipline. Discipline entails observance of standards of behavior that are consistent with what the family wants the kids to achieve. For example, language that is not acceptable in civilized society is forbidden in a home that is raising kids for positions of responsibility in society. The patriarch or the matriarch of the family is always on duty to warn the kids about unacceptable behavior. There has to be someone to say, "Akwenziwa ke lokhu la kwaMdlalose." Such things are not done in this family. We have a president who likes to call so-called family meetings. Presumably, he sees himself as the patriarch of the South African family. Before Ramaphosa can be a good father of the South African family, he must first be a good father of the ANC. Continued relevance of the ANC is threatened by its lack of discipline. The organization doesn't seem to recognize anyone as the patriarch with authority to set standards. The last patriarch of the family was Nelson Mandela, who advised reconciliation with whites after they abandoned political power. The post-1994 ANC of Nelson Mandela did not see itself as a liberation movement. No one reconciles with an oppressor, and therefore Mandela's ANC did not regard whites as oppressors. The post-1994 ANC were so humble that they believed it required a white skin to establish a business. They planned to be empowered by whites to become millionaires. Anti-white hatred was revived by the RET attempt to kill the empowerment goose, to reprieve all the golden eggs. A further complication was a decline of ANC voter support, coupled with a rise of DA support. The most effective way to discredit the DA was to hysterically accuse them of racism. There were no standards to keep DA abuse within bounds. Adults in the ANC competed with juvenile delinquents of the EFF in hurling the crudest insults at the DA. So vile was DA abuse that in the eyes of the ANC rank and file today, only the most despicable sellout could cooperate with the DA. Today, the ANC has been forced into a coalition with the DA. So unpopular is this arrangement that it may facilitate the activation of MKP sympathizers who remain in the ANC. As a matter of fact, the difference between South Africa and Zimbabwe is the South African population of whites and Indians. The level of stupidity and lack of foresight which caused the ANC to demonize these populations is astounding. These populations have a proven record of building the wonderful South Africa which the ANC has been systematically destroying since 1994. The wealth of a country is capable citizens. No amount of racial hatred will change the fact that whites and Indians are the wealth of South Africa. Zimbabweans learned the hard way. They once embraced the Mugabe Malema stupidity of chasing whites away. Today, Zim is begging white farmers to return back to the farms that were once confiscated without compensation. The Zim government is borrowing to compensate them for the infrastructure that was maliciously destroyed by their imbeciles.